Morning everybody, I'm out in the beautiful grasslands today, and today I'm going to answer one of the questions I got from my channel members, and that is using a monitor on top of your camera for bird and wildlife photography and filming. So today I'm going to talk about basically what this is, how it works, and also talk about the benefits of using one of these and the drawbacks of using one of these as well, because there definitely are some drawbacks. If you're interested in using one of these or interested in purchasing one of these, hopefully this video will answer some of those questions and just kind of go through the things that I use in it. Now I'm set up here waiting for, hoping that a northern harrier is going to land on this perch that I have set up in front of me. There's an old telephone pole essentially in this field, and it has been perching on it about 3 or 4 times so far this morning. So I set myself up and I'm sitting and waiting, all set up to hopefully have it come and perch on it again. But we'll discuss the different features of this monitor in the meantime, and hopefully it'll come and perch on it for us. So what do I use for a monitor? So I'm using the Atomos Ninja. It's the 5.2 inch monitor. Basically how it works is we have the monitor itself here up on top. We have a battery in the back, and then this one also has a hard drive that you plug into it as well. It attaches to the top of your camera through basically a cold shoe mount that you attach to your flash, where your flash would attach. And then there's also an HDMI cord here as well that attaches the camera to the monitor. And basically what happens is you end up having it so the monitor takes the screen of your EVF and puts it up into the monitor. So basically transfers that up into your monitor. So you see everything that you would see in your EVF and your monitor down in the camera up into the external monitor up above. Now for the OM1, we go from a full-size HDMI into the monitor and then down into a micro HDMI cord into the camera itself. Depending on which camera brand you're using, you have to be careful which cord you need to connect the monitor to your camera. There are different ones. Some of them have full-size HDMI, which I prefer. That's what Nikon used. It's just a more sturdy system, but different brands use different sized HDMI cables to connect things to. And I have this coiled up cord. It works really nice. It keeps things out of the way. You don't have a whole bunch of cord hanging down if you use like one that comes with a TV or something like that. Now I'm using a monitor that has a ability to record onto it. So it's a recorder and a monitor because it has that hard drive on the back there. I use a 1 terabyte hard drive. It's just what came with the kit when I bought it. This monitor itself is pretty expensive. So you can probably get it for a package deal somewhere around $900. And it is that expense because you end up having the ability to record, and you have to end up getting the hard drive, the batteries, the mounts, as well as the cables for it. So there's a lot of components. It's not just the monitor itself you have to purchase. Now this one is so expensive because it allows you to record on the monitor itself. You can get ones where it's just a field monitor, so it just transfers your viewfinder up into the monitor so you can see. It doesn't have the option to record. Really the only reason I use this one that I do to have the record option is so that I can record my screen and share it on YouTube videos or use it as a teaching tool for different things. I've never used one where it is just a monitor, but there are plenty of options out there online. Again, I haven't used one, so I don't know which one to recommend to you. But you can see a lot of them have very similar specs, and there are definitely cheaper ones out there. Another option with this one is, because it's a recording monitor, you're also able to record in different video formats as well. So for this one with OM1, you're able to record in ProRes RAW, which is a nice feature. I personally don't do it. I just record everything internally on the camera. It just works for my workflow and it has good results for me. Now the real question is, why use a monitor at all, right? Because you can see that it's a big system up above, and really the biggest benefit, and we'll get into more of these in more detail, but the biggest benefit is it's just a much larger screen compared to what you're going to be looking at in the back of your camera, and it's easier to look through than the EVF in your camera as well. So that is the biggest benefit. And the main advantage of that is being able to confirm focus. So the larger screen allows you to confirm things that are in focus, and there are also different tools in the monitor itself that allow you to confirm focus. Number one being it allows you to turn on focus peaking. So this is separate from the camera. You can just press the little icon down below there and it turns on focus peaking. So you can quickly and easily confirm focus. It's really nice, and you can have that on the entire time you're using it. So it's really helpful, especially for video. You can really confirm what's in focus, even if you don't have focus peaking turned on in your camera itself. There's also the magnify option as well. So you can press and it magnifies into your screen separate from the back of your camera. So you can confirm focus that way as well. It also really helps you with exposure. Now, a lot of mirrorless cameras, you can see your exposure pretty much right on the screen. I always have my histogram up on my screen so I can see what my exposure is. But in this, you also have the ability to use waveforms as well, which is just another kind of histogram, has a little bit more detail. I like using it for videos. It's really nice for video work. And it also has the ability to turn on zebras, so you can see the things that are going to be overexposed in your viewfinder right there. You can turn it off and on and really see what is happening there. Now, another benefit of this is if you've ever photographed subjects that are down low on the ground and you've had to get low down, if you've been in that position for a while, you kind of really strain your neck. So one benefit of this is you're able to essentially get down, sit down comfortably on the ground, put your camera down low, and you're able to adjust where the monitor is. So you can twist this here and move that down. So you're able to put your camera down low to the level that it needs to be, and you're able to sit comfortably rather than having to lay down flat on the sand or the rocks, get completely muddy and disgusting. But also you don't have that neck strain as well, which is really nice. And it helps you really be out in the field longer and more comfortable. It's also nice if you're set up in a blind. You don't have to have your eye kind of pressed up against the viewfinder the entire time. With this monitor out, you're just able to have a nice big clean image of what's happening in front of you. And it just helps you kind of see around you more, and it's just more comfortable long term. Rather than having yourself kind of pressed up against the camera, not wanting to move, this allows you to be a little bit farther back, a little bit more comfortable, and you can still easily press the shutter when you need to. And all of the functions for the camera work really well with this. So you lose your touchscreen ability on the back of your camera, which is fine because I don't usually use that, but you're able to use all of your buttons on your camera like you normally would. So if you need to adjust exposure, you need to adjust your ISO, you want to adjust your autofocus area, all that kind of stuff, you can do that the same way that you normally would on your camera, and it'll transfer right up to your screen. So you don't lose any functionality that way except for the touchscreen, which again, I don't use anyway, so it's not a big loss for me. And another feature I touched on before, which is another big benefit, obviously I can record my screen to share with you, so it's a good teaching tool for me. But I also use it for my guided sessions as well, pretty frequently. If I'm trying to show somebody how I'm composing something, I can plug my monitor in, they can watch exactly what I'm doing through my viewfinder and see what I'm doing. So it's a much more effective teaching tool than saying, okay, I'm doing this. Now they can actually see what I'm doing, which is really helpful. All right, so what about the drawbacks for this and using a monitor? Because there definitely are some drawbacks. And the biggest one, which you can probably guess, is just the added bulkiness and weight to it. So the monitor with the battery, the hard drive, and the cold shoe mount, they total up to about 730, 750 grams, which is just over 1.5 pounds. Okay, so that's the extra 1.5 pounds above your camera. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot until you figure that the weight of the OM1 body without the grip is about 630 grams. So you're more than doubling the weight of your camera with my system here, and that's all weight that's right in your wrist, okay? So it adds a lot of bulkiness, it adds substantial top heaviness to your camera and your system, and it really makes it hard to maneuver and kind of react and quickly get into position. And if you end up carrying this a long time, I have noticed that I get a lot of wrist strain, so it just makes it really uncomfortable to carry a long time. And typically when I'm using this, I am setting it up on a tripod so I don't have to have all that weight on my wrist itself. And that really just kind of reduces your mobility and your flexibility to kind of adapt and move around to different positions. Another pretty obvious issue with this is because it protrudes out from your camera pretty far and you have this extra cord here hanging out, if you're moving around through a forest or anything that has some branches or anything kind of vegetation, it can get snagged really easily. So it gets really annoying having to move around. And typically if I'm doing that, I'm going to get into position where I want to be and then set this up. So it's just an extra step and just slows you down in that process, because I've definitely got this snagged on a bunch of branches before, and it just becomes a nightmare. Another drawback is the fact that of battery life. So this is the battery I use. It's one of the larger ones. I think you can get an even larger one, but it's these NP F batteries. Pretty much all the monitors use these kinds of batteries, which is nice. It's kind of a standard thing. But if you're doing any kind of recording of the screen, it really chews through battery. So it's another battery to have to carry. I carry 2 of these and I still run out in the field sometimes, but they're heavy. I mean, they're big batteries. So it's just another thing you have to be aware of, and they definitely run out, and they usually run out in the worst possible time when you're in the middle of recording something. If you're using this as just kind of a monitor and you're not actually recording anything, then they last a good amount of time. But for me, when I'm recording my screen to try to use it in videos and stuff like that, it really drains the battery. So it's just another thing you have to worry about and replenish and charge as well. And then the last really big drawback for me is I would not want to use these in any kind of rainy conditions, snowy conditions, anything like that with a lot of moisture. It's definitely not weather sealed. There's an opening up top here where the fan is. Any moisture getting into that, I'd be really concerned that this thing would have a really big problem. And for me, I mean, that's kind of the point of being able to be out in any kind of weather conditions. And this will definitely limit you if you end up being reliant on it as well. You can see just all the connections are just wide open on here. Definitely not weather sealed at all. If you're going to be trying to photograph moving subjects or birds in flight, anything like that, anything where you need to be agile and move around a lot, I find that it really limits my ability to do that. And one of the reasons for that is when you plug this in, all the information goes up into the monitor itself. So you lose all of your information, all of your autofocusing information, all of your exposure information goes up into here. So you end up having to use this monitor as your sole resource of checking where your autofocus box is and checking everything that way. And if you try to photograph birds in flight with it, it's just a very clunky system because it kind of is a disconnect between, you know, how you usually do it. Usually have your head or your eye press up to your viewfinder. You can kind of line it up and you're comfortable with lining it up of where the bird is as it's flying. Everything is up above, so you kind of have to hold it down lower and try to find it as you're trying to photograph it. And I miss a lot of shots trying to do that, and I do not even try to use it really anymore for birds in flight because it's just a clunky system. You miss your shots. Even for things that are kind of in brush, it's just hard to end up looking at this when usually you'd be a little bit lower and you'd have a better focal plane of where you're focusing and where you're looking with your lens, especially for long telephoto lenses when you have a lot of magnification. There's a disconnect, for me at least, of being able to locate the subject in the viewfinder. So it's definitely a drawback there as well. So who is a monitor best suited for? And for me, like I said, when I use this monitor, I am going to be setting myself up on a location. I'm going to be there for a little while. I'm not going to need to move. The subject I'm going to be photographing or filming are going to be somewhat stationary, or I'm not going to have to worry about them moving too much. For subjects wise, typically things that are going to be slower moving, so perched things or things that are going to be moving pretty slowly. I have had success photographing northern harriers with this in flight because they're a slow moving bird. They're pretty easy to find and photograph, and they're also low to the ground as well. But fast moving things like warblers, that sort of thing, unless you become really comfortable with finding the bird in the viewfinder through the monitor, it's going to be a pretty clunky system. You're going to miss where the bird is a lot of times unless you become really comfortable with it. So I wouldn't suggest it with that. If you're going to be using a tripod, that would be a good benefit of using this. Also, you can use a monopod as well, just something that would take the weight of this off your wrist, because after a while it will definitely hurt your wrist. And if you end up holding it a lot, kind of down low, it also hurts your back as well. So consider that, think about that, and a tripod and a monopod will help kind of alleviate some of that. Using this monitor for things, just kind of general photography work, it kind of takes away the benefits of the OM system, the lightweight gear, because it just adds a lot of bulk to it and just makes it kind of cumbersome to use. So I don't end up getting any shots that I wouldn't have gotten without using it. So that's gonna be it for me. I hope this video was helpful for you. If it was, check out my other videos for gear and tips and techniques. I'm trying to get back into these kinds of videos, but I do have a few out already as well. And if you use a monitor, let us know down in the comments below. What brand do you use? What features do you use in the monitor? Anything that I missed? Let us know down in the comments below. There's definitely a lot of features built into these. I only use a fraction of them. So if you use anyone, you find anyone that's really useful for your photography, let us know. We have a nice community down there, and we're all trying to help each other grow as photographers and as naturalists and help each other become better as well. Now, if you see any comments down below that have a little bird icon next to their names, those are my channel members. So a big thank you to them for less than a cup of coffee each month. They help directly support me in this channel, help me continue to make videos like this, and I really, really appreciate everything that they do. And if you're looking for a free way to support me in this channel, you can also subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate all of those that have subscribed and to continue to subscribe. It just really helps me reach a wider audience, and that's what I'm trying to do with this channel and with these videos. So thank you so much. That's gonna be it for me today, and I will see you again really soon.